Okay, guys, welcome back. This is part 2 of episode 20. We've done a little cut just to split it up a bit. The first part was already nearly an hour and a half, and for my laptop's sake, I didn't want to have to try and put together a 3-hour podcast and then wait for it to upload to YouTube. It'd take far too long. So we've done a little cut. We're now going to move into what we initially were going to talk about in the first place, which is the match play guide. Now, the actual guide itself, having a physical copy, is quite nice. It's the first softback book of the new releases.
Yeah, since
I want
the
to say
5 iron books.
It was £12, which is very reasonable for what it is.
That's very. That's. I think if you can factor in the price of the source books, that's very good value.
And it's still good quality. Like it's still the cover's very nice, and it's what's the word?
Embossed.
That's the one. Yeah. So it's a nice book. It's about how many pages does it say?
Something in the region of about 50, 40.
Yeah, it's not bad for the price. It's really good. Obviously, you'll need it if you're playing the 6 new scenarios, which I'm a little bit upset about because obviously the General's accessory pack where you've got the 12 scenarios as a smaller version, which for me are a little bit more convenient to have out on the table. So I'm hoping at some point they bring out an expansion to that and we get the 6 new single player missions and the 6 new doubles missions.
I mean, at the end of 2017, you had the accessory scenarios released, and then you had, not even a year later, you had the new edition, and then at the end of that year, you had a new General's accessory handbook, and now that they're out of date. Again, I mean, out of date loosely
the scenarios
because
haven't changed.
Yeah, the old scenarios haven't changed, which is a point for discussion. But anyway, so those are still relevant. So maybe they just do like a 6-pack of the new ones, or maybe a 12 and include the doubles.
Yeah,
they could do that.
So, it has a recommended tournament style, and it gives you what to do with pairings, round 1, if you have a spare player, a bye round, if a player concedes. So we've been doing this in the EAHC anyway, and it should count as a 12-0 win for the pair not conceding, and that's now official in this book. Again, this is recommended, so if you're a tournament organizer or an event organizer, you can still do what you want, but this just gives you a little bit of an idea of where to start, I guess.
There's even like an idea for a results sheet, so that's really handy, like how you can do how you record your VPs, your opponent's VPs, and then even tiebreaks as well. I think that can be one of
quite easily scan that and make it en masse. So
exactly.
If you're a regular TO and you've got to put an event pack together every damn time, now you can just say match playbook. Look in there; it's all there.
Yeah, obviously you just put in your points, the address of the venue, what you're going to do for a lunch option, and then
no lunch.
And then you get
bring
second breakfast.
Second breakfast. But yeah, so it's really good for that, especially if you're a new tournament organizer. Obviously, I think I've ran far too many at this point. But the thing that is quite nice and actually adds another tactical element to list building, as if there wasn't enough to think about, is the scenario pool system.
Yes, I really like this because it now means that you're going to a tournament and
there's going to be a spread.
You literally don't know what scenarios you're going to be playing at the tournament, which is really good fun because it's no longer. People used to you could tailor an army to specific scenarios, and now that's just gone out the window.
CJ's particularly thrilled to see that Scott Contest Champions is such a minute chance now.
I'm
it's also Maelstrom.
Beyond delighted.
Also Maelstrom's reduced significantly because they're pulled together, all the Maelstrom scenarios.
So you get to see a lot less mad drills, I think.
Assuming we're all looking at the pools, I'll read pool 1 and so on and so forth.
Yes.
So pool 1 is the Maelstrom battle scenarios, which is obviously Heirlooms of Ages Past, Hold Ground, and then the new one being Command the Battlefield, which we're going to go into in a minute, but we're just going to read through them, what they are in their pools first. Pool 2 is hold
objectives
scenarios. So you've got domination, which is obviously an old one, very old one. Capture and control, which was a new one for this edition of the game, and then a further new one now is breakthrough.
So then,
sorry, yeah, go on.
Yeah, Pool 3 is the object scenarios. Now, this is an interesting one because the only original scenario in this one is seize the prize.
Everyone's favourite.
Yes, and then these are brand new scenarios to go into this pool. You've got destroy the supplies. Very interested to see how that one goes. And then you've got retrieval. So these are two brand new scenarios. Essentially, yeah, it's like catch the flag, but when we look at the scenario, we'll go into a little bit more detail. But that's interesting. An entire pool made up of nearly brand new scenarios. That's quite a good one.
Yeah, it's very good.
And it's on a 3, so I'm guaranteed to roll it at my event.
No, mate, we're going to play 3 Maelstrom scenarios at your event.
Yeah.
Luckily, I'm going to eliminate the pools.
Pool 4 is kill the enemy scenarios. So we have Lord's Battle, Contest of Champions, and To the Death.
Yes.
Which is good. I think...
They're 3 of my favourites, so I'm a little bit gutted they're all together because they're ones I can do quite well. Just focus on killing everything.
To the Death, although it is a kill-based scenario, it's very different to the other 2 in they have specific... I guess it's fine.
It's still just cutting through the enemy as quickly and hard as you can.
True.
Whilst minimising your own damage, so it's similar in that respect.
Pool 5, we have manoeuvring scenarios. Storm the camp, reconnoiter, and the new scenario is divide and conquer. And finally, Pool 6
I think this is my favourite one, Pool 6, because this is the what the hell is going on pool.
So
the pool of scenarios, we don't know how else to label it.
Fog of War, which is slowly actually becoming one of my favourite scenarios, Fog of War.
That's by Moonlight. You have a good poker face to play well at it, haven't you?
Yeah.
That, or you make it so I don't know the right word, obvious as to what it is that they think you're bluffing and you're not. But yeah.
Well, I've had it before. I've played it against the Nazgul Dol Guldur.
Yeah.
And I've been hacking away trying to kill, what's his face? The one that keeps transporting 3 inches every turn before he moves. That's it. Targeted him, had Dane running after him, and he thought he was luring Dane away. Eventually Dane got him. And then I came back to join the rest of the battle, and then suddenly the keeper of the dungeons lunged out and attacked my dwarves, and then I was like, "Oh, you got the keeper? I forgot about him." And he's like, "You're not after the keeper." That was just that confusion in his face. What?
So
it throws. That's right. It's what's great about Fog of War, it kind of throws that sheer element of randomness into it. You literally unless your opponent's only got 1 hero. You don't know. You kind of have to sort of. It's a bit like in Divide and Conquer. You have to go after a little bit of everything. You can't just go. That's my single objective.
Yeah.
Or even if you've just got 2 heroes each, because then you and your opponent both know what needs to be protected and attacked. And it's the same for assassination, which is also in this pool.
Right.
So I'll let you finish talking about it.
So we've got Fog of War, Crash by Moonlight, and Assassination, as CJ said.
Yeah.
And then we're actually going to move into the scenarios themselves.
Yep.
We're not going to cover the first 12 because they haven't changed in any way, shape, or form.
Which is kind of disappointing because stuff like heirlooms really needed a bit of tinkering, I think. But never mind.
I think it's kind of when you're suddenly expanding the scenarios, you kind of want to just introduce the new ones first, and then maybe later. Tinker with it. You don't want to suddenly be kind of like, oh, we're bringing out 6 new ones, and the original 12 are all changing as well. So it's kind of like what? Whereas if
people have to buy a new book when they change them as well. So
exactly. So it's kind of here's 6 new scenarios, and they might just kind of say they might in a few months' time it could be in a year's time. They simply say, okay, we've had all 18 scenarios, and now we're going to bring out a new book that kind of addresses some changes we think they might.
However, I'm a little bit. I don't think they will change it because it has been that case for several years now.
Oh yeah.
So maybe not.
It's kind of certain scenarios I think when the General's Accessory Pack Storm the Camp got a clarification, because there was always confusion about how you captured your enemy's camp, and the kind of when they did the Generals Pack, they addressed that and fixed it. So.
Yeah, so I hope some stuff will. But I mean, Ardacon last year, the first round, and the first round is heirlooms, and you heard 250 people just go, ugh. And then the guy I played was just like, he was a meta player from Germany, and he just said, no, but nobody likes this one. 95% of competitive players really hate heirlooms.
Just because it's so much down to luck.
Yeah. You rolled a 6, you won. Well done.
But saying that, I think I'd actually my best game in heirlooms at Ardacon, not in terms of performance, like necessarily, but just like in terms of like, you know,
enjoyment.
Like I was playing. What was I doing? I was doing Mordor and Eastlings against. I think it was like Rivendell, so it was like Gil-galad and like Elrond, that sort of thing. And he got the objective with Gil-galad's warband, came at me. I fought his warband, and the Witch King managed to shank Gil-galad with the Morgul Blade and kill him. He started getting the objective off around the middle of the board, at which point Amdur's, or the Dragon Knight, I think it was Amdur's unit, hit that. Nearly got the objective, but he managed to slink away, and the Witch King managed to slink around the side. And it was the very last turn of the game, so I just got all my will apart from one, and did like a black dart at the model holding it. Got the spell to be cast, and I had killed his banner. I had one myself, so I had 2 for that. I had killed his leader whilst I was unharmed, and I had his army broken whilst mine is unbroken, so it's 6 all. And then all I needed to do is roll a 3+ to win the game, and rolled a fucking 2.
That sounds about right for Sam.
That is a Sam Huddy moment wrapped up.
This is what I mean. Tactically fine. Dice roll, no.
Terrible. Oh, don't I know about it from our double games.
Hire a dice roller, mate. Do you want me to roll your dice for you?
I'm gonna hire a commissioned dice roller.
I'll come and roll your dice for you.
Thing is, he's usually paired up with me, and I don't do much better. So we're
bold dying to 3 goblins in turn 1.
I still think the best one was 7 Stones last year. It was his first game. We're kind of like we need a good priority roll to kind of give us a chance of breaking through here. And our opponents rolled a 2, and I'm thinking, we've got a chance. By the way,
here. Just for clarification, this is Ed Ball and Will Champion, so you know they're all right players, but we could probably take them.
Yeah.
They roll a 2 for priority. I'm thinking, oh, excellent. So if we get priority, we got a chance here because we can nullify their cavalry attack, and then we can push on. We might get something out of the game. And Sam promptly rolls a 1, to which I promptly turn around and yell, "What is wrong with you?"
He's got a gift.
He has got a name. The other one he keeps when I'm playing games, he keeps walking up and ruining my dice rolls. Just by he projects this aura of bad dice rolling.
The best one was at Unnumbered Tears last year. Literally, I can only assume that as I was walking from the toilet outside to go have a fag or something, I just happened to walk past James just as he picked up his dice for a fate roll for his leader and promptly rolled a 3 and looked up and saw me going, ooh.
So, scenario 13, command the battlefield.
It wouldn't be it wouldn't be a podcast without some sort of tangent and.
Oh yeah, no.
Right,
but yes, back on topic.
Just to clarify, no one's actually had a chance to play these yet, have they?
Caesar and I were hoping to play yesterday, but time just ran out, unfortunately.
Right. I have seen the breakthrough played. I watched it on Twitch. So I have a little bit of an idea of how that works, which is why I picked it. So scenario 13 is command the battlefield.
This one's basically the exact opposite of whole ground.
Yeah. It's got Maelstrom, but you ignore everything except the middle.
Scenario outline is...
So you ignore the middle and go for everything else, is what you mean. But
yeah. The battlefield is divided into quarters. Control the most quarters to achieve victory, basically. The armies, players choose their forces as described on page... Yeah, we don't need to read that. Set up terrain, we don't need to read that. So at the battle start, the forces are yet to arrive. So it's Maelstrom. Objectives, the game lasts until end of turn. One force has been reduced to a quarter, so normal. If both players have the same number of victory points, the game is a draw. Makes sense.
Yeah, this one's interesting because hold ground can potentially end when a army is broken, whereas this one is now 25%. So
a little bit better than hold ground in that regard, because I've watched James play hold ground, and the game went on for an extra 12 turns.
Poor old
Ben was having to live driven from
and I felt so bad for Ben, but at the same time, watching James just go through his army with like two models.
It was Aragorn running through Númenóreans like a hot knife through butter.
It was funny to watch.
But even I was cringing at the end of it because I was just
please
like,
end the game, please.
It was just like, this game will not end. I was just
12
like,
turns,
please end.
James, what's going on? You're going to win. Because of how long? Anyway,
his army either died or ran away. So
you score 1 victory point for each quarter of the board that has more friendly models than enemies wholly within it. For each quarter of the board that has at least double the number of models wholly within it than your opponent, you score 2.
Okay. So you don't have to actually clear it. You just got a double, and that's okay. That's not so tough then.
Are we going to specifically talk about army builds for each scenario as we go along?
Don't have to necessarily. You can just talk about rough predictions, that sort of thing.
I mean, loosely, you just say it. Hordes and mobility is good for this one, or high courage stuff that you can leave in a corner and not die.
Yeah. High courage, high defense as well.
I think what you'll see a lot in this scenario is there'll be fights on the borders of 2 areas where they're just trying to wipe out one side of the board.
I think ironically in this scenario, if your opponent gets to pick where you come on, your army might all be together as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, obviously in the other Maelstrom scenarios, you're like, nope, I'm going to put you as far away from each other as possible. Whereas at now you'd be like, all right, that's fine because I can move half of my warband towards this objective or this half of the board, quarter of the board. I can move the other half of my warband towards this quarter of the board. And now you might find your opponent go, I'm going to put you all together because that makes more sense for me.
Which is also
essentially
a good observation.
It reverses the whole original Maelstrom, where you wanted your opponent's army to be as far away from each other as possible. Whereas now you kind of want the opposite. So that adds in a new element.
Back to
it's also going to mean that people like Curtin are really going to be not very helpful in this because they're going to cover that tiny little bit of the army they're actually nearby, and it also means they're not going to have a major hero there to do a lot of killing.
I mean, you say that, but if they're sat in a quarter, or if he has half of his warband within 6 in a quarter and the other half of his warband they're going to be very hard to kill still.
If you focus fire on one quarter of it, then you can try eliminate them in that side and force them to come to the other side.
That's true. You score 1 victory point for causing 1 or more wounds on the enemy leader. Wounds prevented by successful fate rolls do not count. If you kill the leader, you get 2 victory points, and it's 1 for breaking and 2 if your force is unbroken. So you can get 4 victory points for killing stuff, essentially, and you can get 8 victory points potentially for actually having models where they're supposed to be. So
you might wind up. Actually, I really look forward to playing that.
I think you can probably end up sacrificing one corner because if your army's in one corner and you can move directly onto 2 other bits of the board where you can score points, but if you want to go for the opposite corner, you got to go across a 12-inch circle, 6-inch radius, or is it a 24-inch radius?
12-inch radius, I assume.
12-inch at the centre.
Radius. So the centre.
So there's a 24-inch diameter circle in the middle where you've got to go across a no man, and that's at least 3 moves for anything in the game to get from one bit into the. So I think you probably wind up with a lot of 6 points for 3 bits of the board and maybe ignoring the other bit unless you've got eagles or bats or something. Or
the one thing I could say this scenario could potentially favour is archery heavy armies, because in theory you could then you could literally get a warband of archers into each quarter of the board and they just sit there and shoot your opponent. whilst he comes towards you.
The Umbarian Serpent Horde. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. You could literally just walk on. You could literally just walk onto the board and think, you know what, I'm going to stay here. And like your opponent has to get into the quarter, so he's going to be within range of you at some point, and then you just literally stand there and shoot him. So because he's going to then have to eventually have to charge you just to stop you shooting at him.
Run at my crossbows, please. Run at them.
The mental image of you out of like just being short of doubling your opponent by 1, and last turn of the game you like get your troll thrown into no man's land in the middle, like go away.
Oh yeah, Sorceress blast somebody out of one of the corners and just that'd be amazing.
It adds there's a lot of tactical elements to this scenario already, and I've read it twice now.
We've literally just read it and we're thinking in tactics.
So the special rules for this scenario, we briefly just covered them. The centre of the battlefield provides little tactical value and is not so much use for either force. As I said, it's a 12-inch circle, so it's 24-inch diameter. And then the normal Maelstrom of Battle deployment table. So
I can see a lot of these games going to the tournament clock rather than finishing naturally, because you got to get one of you down to 25.
Scenario, do you think?
Yeah, because the scoring's all in even numbers. So I can.
As James says, it sounds like archery will be a big part in that one, because if you can just try whittle them down and they're...
But you say that, but it's not... it depends on the deployment still.
Oh, yeah, massively.
Because
you could end up with your entire army in the same place.
If you do what I do, which is have 2 heroes of legend for my Corsair Harad list, and I have 9 bows with 1, because I can, and then I have 6 crossbows with the other, because I can... yeah, technically I could cover 3/4 of the board with 36 models and just shoot my way to, 4 points? Plus I haven't been broken or potentially haven't been broken and my leader hasn't been hurt. But
if I manage to cut you in half and then break you, then...
So yes, I mean, shooting could be good, but as you said, the deployment could still really screw you.
Oh, yeah, massively.
You're going to want to have... your army split up a little bit to cover more board, but at the same time, if your opponent then goes, right, well, I'm going to come on. If you deploy first and your deployment goes how you technically would like it to, but then your opponent obviously goes second and puts all their army behind 1/2 of yours, or 2/3 of yours, or whatever, you're then really going to struggle to actually. So there is a lot more to it than shooting being prevalent, because it depends where you deploy, essentially.
Oh yeah, I think we're going to see with quite a few of these scenarios that it's not going to be as simple as you think it is, and that can only be a good thing.
It does look like a very cool scenario.
And I also like the fact that this might actually, with a few others like Divide and Conquer, potentially destroy the supplies. You might see people actually use a whole 6-model box of cav, as opposed to just going, here's a shield wall and 3 cav for reconnoiter.
Yeah.
Which should be nice. Get a bit of different armies involved.
Yes. Shall we look at the next scenario? Scenario 14.
Who wants to take retrieval?
I'll take this one.
Go on,
if you don't mind. So this one is scenario retrieval. The outline: reclaim what was stolen by the enemy and escape the battlefield with it. So, yeah, if you've ever played like Capture the Flag, that is basically what it is. But what's interesting about this specific scenario, this is a brand new type of deployment. You deploy diagonally across the board. So it says the
thing, isn't it?
It says here the board is then split into 2 halves diagonally between the 2 corners that were not. So basically, you choose a corner each, a bit like Storm Camp. But then it says the board is split diagonally between the 2 corners that were not chosen, forming 2 deployment lines. The player who scored the highest selects a warband in their. So again, you deploy its alternative warbands. But then 15 inches from a corner of the board edge is a relic. So that's kind of like the objective that your opponent's army has stolen and you've got yours, but you just have to retrieve it.
Yeah.
So the objectives are, once one force has been broken, the game might suddenly end. At the end of each turn after this condition has been met, the standard on a 1-2, the game ends. And so to score victory points, you score 1 victory point if your opponent's relic has moved from its original position at the end of the game. If you retrieve your opponent's relic, you instead score 3 victory points. So in other words, you can still score points. Even all you have to do is just move the relic to score victory points. If you've got it in your own deployment zone, you instead score 5 victory points. And if you carry it off the board in either your deployment zone, you instead score 7. So this is so you've got a 1, 3, 5, and 7. So this is it's an interesting scenario in that if you basically get your hands on your opponent's relic, you are guaranteed to score victory points.
Yeah, this is another one where mobility is an absolute key, because it shows that you deploy the relic 15 inches directly in from the corner. So what you got, 4x4.
That's going to be a lot closer than it looks in the picture.
It's 5'10" from corner to corner. That's 70 inches. Take away the 15 inches. So basically, you got 40 inches between the two relics. You take away the 30 from basically, yeah, you've got at least 2-3 turns to get to the relic, and then you've got a 9, 40, so you got 30. So even if you got cav, that is 4 turns of direct movement with no terrain and no, models to dodge around to get off the board edge.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know how realistic these are. I think that rewards flying models really, really well. If a bat or a crab,
they have just released a load of. They have just released a new flying profile. So
as long as we've got there's expert rider cavalry, and that's what I think you've got a good chance of finishing the game. Otherwise, I think a lot of times it's going on whoever's managed to move the relic.
Also makes March incredibly important for this scenario as well, potentially.
Yes, it does.
But if you're deploying right in front of each other, you're going to need to fight through first and then start marching.
Exactly, but then there's other ways to score victory points. So you got the standard 1 if you wound the leader, 2 if you kill the leader, and obviously wounds prevented by fate don't count. And then 1 victory point if the enemy force is broken at the end of the game. But if the enemy force is broken and your force is unbroken, you instead score 3 victory points. So that's
a lot of potentially low-scoring games with this one.
Yeah, it might come down to leader or breaking, but it's basically again, it's kind of like seize the prize. The main objective is get your hands on it.
It's quite
seize the prize plus storm the camp.
Yeah, storm the camp.
Yeah, because you the strategy in this is you've got to find out a way of stealing your opponent's relic whilst at the same time you've got to protect your own.
Archers at the back, I think, is probably one of the way forward.
That is probably what we're going. Yeah, that's probably what you're going to see. You're going to see sort of like a fast-moving. You might have an element of cavalry. You might have it's like an army that might do, to a certain extent,
fell beasts back.
Yeah, fell beasts. This one might sound a little bit strange. Is Iron Hills, because you could, in theory, if you plonk just a shield wall of Iron Hills and then crossbows in front of your objective, that's not going anywhere. You've got
goat riders to go collect.
Goats and chariots, because this is the special rule about the relic. It's considered as a light object.
Yeah,
and
so
all it has
expert riders can nick it. They don't have to dig it up, so it's not like the other two.
Yeah, Sorry. And it says it's considered retrieved if at the end of the game it's being carried by a friendly model. So it then says if a relic has been picked up by an enemy model and is then subsequently dropped or retaken by a friendly model, then a player must try and return it to its original position as quickly as possible.
That's a good
rule. So in other
rule.
words, you kind of got you can't just say, "Oh, I've got it back." They have to say, "No, you need to get it to its original starting position," because otherwise
you lose your opponent.
Otherwise, your opponent gets a victory point. So that's kind of that's what I like about this scenario. It's basically you have to go.
Does promote splitting your army up again, doesn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. So there's
not necessarily. I think James is right. You could literally just form a circle around your relic and then just send 2 goat riders to go and nick and then ballista there.
But then does that not just I think this is going to have a lot of draws then, potentially.
Possibly. People
because both armies could just do that and then no one wins.
I think initially people are going to the most initial ones for these are going to be trying to go with fast moving armies and then something to act as a shield wall to just protect your own relic. So that's kind of. But yeah, there might be 1 or 2 draws, but we'll see. This is kind of again because we've never really played.
It's all theory hammer at this point. So.
Everything.
Radagast on Eagle. You just fly up, Nature's Wrath, all the stuff that's guarding the relic on the floor, they've got no control zones. I'm having that relic, and now I've run off with my heroic move or combat or whatever.
Yeah, you're going to see basically flying armies, mountain armies. Basically anything that's got a movement advantage is going to.
What about the Watch in the Water? Because that can just spring up wherever it likes.
That could work as well.
Oh, that's horrible. I love it. Yes.
I think Goblin Mercenaries are potentially quite good for this scenario as well.
What is this? Is this what Precious is?
If there's a nice terrain piece near their relic, you're like, oh, pass my courage, here I am.
Spring up and find an entire iron hill spear wall surrounding
Yeah.
This is going to be strategy, but you will have to think carefully about this.
It does specify very specifically where the relic's got to be placed, so it's not like domination, there's no ambiguity, it's going there, so...
No.
And obviously the table's already set up before you play the game, so...
Exactly.
Might change how people set up tables, potentially, but there we go.
Well, I wouldn't have thought so. Well, maybe I would hope people wouldn't, I mean, the scenario, if you're using the pool, it's random, so you wouldn't set up a table for a scenario you might not get.
No, but you might not put a really strong ruin with only one way in directly on where that would be deployed.
That's fair.
Is what Sean suggested he might do for an event a while ago, where he's going to maybe choose a scenario for each table and you play on each table once or something.
Okay.
Because then it can be perfectly designed to be a really good game on that board.
Nice.
Interesting.
That's an interesting way of doing it.
That means you're going to set up, for a 6-game tournament, you're going to set up 18 tables.
Well, this is what he's saying. He might just set up however many tables he needs. If you've got 10 pairings, roll for random scenarios, set up each table to look to give the best game possible for that game.
Can be annoying if you do contest of champs and there's just a giant statue in the middle.
It's quite a lot of extra work to do every round, but sure. I mean, sure. Have we discussed that one, do you think?
I think we've covered most of the points on that.
You wanted to do this one, didn't you, Josh?
Well, I've seen it played, so I have some idea of how it works, but I mean, when I watched the game Dan was incredibly unlucky with his camels, but so
he didn't march them then.
Oh, I knew that was coming. Poor Tom.
I love how Sam's throwing shade at him when he's the most recent player to essentially cheat.
No, it's not true.
Strikey boy.
Strikey boy. Right, so breakthrough. You have side A deployment and a side B deployment, 24 inches across your half of the table. Within those 24 inches, you have 4 objective markers. They are 4 objectives. One is placed exactly 12 from the centre on one of the player's board edges. Another is placed exactly 12 from the centre on the other player's board edge. The remaining 2 objectives are placed 12 inches away from the centre of the board on opposite sides. So again, there's no wiggle room for these. They are laid out in a square, essentially.
It's
like capture and control, but without the middle one.
Without the middle objective,
So again, there's no ambiguity as to where the objectives go. It's very clear. So scoring, you score 1 victory point if there are more friendly models than any models within 3 inches of the objective in your own deployment zone. So for you, it doesn't score you a lot, but for your opponent, that objective is worth, I think it's 4.
4,
or potentially yes. So for each objective on the centre line of the board, you score 1 victory point if there are more friendly models than enemy models within 3 inches of the objective. If there are at least 1 friendly model and no enemy models within 3, you score 2. You score 2 victory points if there are more friendly models than enemy models within 3 inches of the objective marker in your deployment zone. If there are at least 1 friendly model and no enemy models within 3, you score 4. So that's a good one. And you score 1 victory point for causing wounds on the enemy leader. If you kill the enemy leader, it counts as 2. And there's only 1 point for breaking in this game.
So it encourages aggression.
There's no additional points if you're not broken. It's just 1 point for breaking.
Yeah.
So
that's a game
mobility again, isn't it?
I think all of these 6 are aimed at I mean, maybe they're not selling enough cav, but but yeah, no. Again, I watched Ed and Dan at Whistle play this on Twitch. If you go onto the Warhammer TV channel on Twitch and subscribe, you are able to watch this scenario played. I have Amazon Prime, so it didn't cost me anything. But
I think it's a case of like the best form and defence is attack in this one.
So what Ed did, which was very clever, he had a couple of cheeky things that he deployed separately away, which Dan deployed kind of near each other, but he had camels and theoretically should have gone through the warband just by
charging
Bale alone.
Yeah, but he didn't, and then Ed got kind of not. I don't want to say got lucky, but the game itself very much. I thought, he's got cavalry. I think Ed had Forlong on a horse, and I think that was his only cavalry model. But yeah, the scenario again, it does promote some form of what we've discussed in the previous scenarios. Either cavalry. I think you also need solid numbers because you are going to have to split your army up again. And I mean, you technically your objective only counts as 1, so you could leave it. But then if your opponent gets to it, it's 4 for him.
It's more like insurance if you're defending it.
Yeah. So again, I think it's a very tactical scenario because you could go for arguably if you've got flying models, you could go for a lot of them. If you haven't, you kind of have to maybe bank on having something on your own one, going for one of the side ones, and then trying to get to their one. But that's not necessarily easy to do because obviously they're going for similar things or very interesting to see it. I've not played it. I've seen it played. Yeah, it's
potentially need to be able to double back as well to take out anything that's broken through. And point was going to be made. It's another one that encourages you having a second strong fighting warband. So potentially supporting heroes slightly reduced in importance, but also it rewards having models that have bodyguard or something similar that you can leave on different objectives reliably.
I also think potentially having a single drop model is not a bad idea. I think Ed had I can't remember who he had as a single drop. I think it was Madril because he was playing, obviously prior to FAQ, he was playing a fiefdom's army and he had Madril as an ally, and he was then able to deploy Madril off to the far objective where Dan had no models, and essentially he had 2 points straight away because Dan would have to get his whole army across the board to get denial points on that one. So
because it's 24 inches from side to side, those objectives, isn't it? It's a big distance.
Yeah, especially, Ed proceeded to put his shield wall in the middle of the board so he could deny getting across to... As I say, it's a very tactical scenario, and I think having something where maybe an independent hero is quite good, or something... Again, cavalry numbers, I think an independent hero could be quite... advantageous.
I think the best way to use cavalry in this one might be to keep them back and use them to sweep people off your own objectives they break through.
Quite possibly.
A bit of both.
I think, well, you can kind of go after the opponent's objectives, or you can go after keep your own protected. But kind of like the main emphasis of the scenario is go for your opponent's objective, not the ones that most conveniently encourages you to go for your opponent's objective. So
I mean, if you can get one and defend your own and then break and kill, you'll probably win.
Yeah.
So is this another one where Hobbit ambush or mercenary ambush is potentially incredibly useful?
Yes.
I think so.
Because they need to defend. They can't just hold you back. They need to prepare.
Because if you look at the picture, next to all the objectives, there's something that could be considered as scenery.
Yeah.
You're going to have a scenery on a board.
You'd hope so.
And if they've left 2 models back to deny you, and you drop in a warband of hobbits or mercenary captain and a warband of goblin mercenaries, they're going to nick that off you for 4. I guess it depends what you're playing, how you would deploy your army. But
how many hobbits can you get in a ambush warband?
You can choose any hero, can't you? So it could be up to Valor, right?
That could be pretty grim, because if all you need is more models than your opponent next to the back objective, you're just like, hello, here's 15 hobbits plus their leader, and suddenly you're hopelessly outnumbered on your back objective.
Or 19 goblins because of the Goblin Town Army bonus.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I mean, if you can find a terrain piece that will fit 19 models, then fair play to you. I have difficulty enough with 13, but
I mean, it's the potential there for it. The scenario, actually, I watched it played. It's probably a lot better if you watch it, but cheeky plug for Twitch TV's Warhammer Community TV channel. But
so yeah, I'll return the favour, right?
One day, mate. One day, hopefully. Scenario 16. Did anyone look at this one specifically?
Destroy the supplies. I actually really like this one.
I've read it, but I can't.
I like it. Yeah.
So it's destroy your opponent's supplies whilst protecting your own. So in other words, you've got a 12-inch deployment zone on either side, and then
on the edge of that.
Yeah, alternating deployment, and then on the edge of each deployment zone is a special marker that represents your supplies. So you've got 3 supplies, your opponent's got 3 supplies, and the simple objective is you've got to destroy your enemy's supply markers. So the way that works is you score 2 victory points for each enemy supply marker that has been destroyed. So there's 6 available there. So then 1 victory point for wounding the leader, 2 if you kill him, and then you get 1 victory point if the enemy force is broken, 2 if your force is unbroken, and then introducing
everyone's favourite.
Yeah, the banner remaining. So you score 1 victory point if you have at least 1 banner remaining at the end of the game. If you have at least 1 banner and your opponent has none remaining, then you instead score 2 victory points.
And they were doing so well.
This is just to the death with distractions, isn't it? It's 12-inch deployment and then break banner.
I really don't like how a war gear option can get you victory points.
It's why in your events, the escalation, you gave everyone 3 banners, isn't it? And CK's doing it as well.
Yeah, because I don't think you should be benefited for having a war gear option in your army or not.
If you consider as well, there are certain armies that can't have banners.
I would say my little pity flag for Moria, but we don't have flags. We're not allowed them.
You're not allowed them.
I mean, if
you live like heathens.
If the Moria drum counted as an actual banner, then that would be amazing, and then I would use it a lot. But
you've got the count. Yeah, you got the count says banner, and then that doesn't actually count.
It looks like they got to 10 victory points and went, "Oh, what do we add for the last 2?"
Yeah, potentially.
I would have said if at the end, like you've destroyed all 3 of your opponent's objectives and got 3 of your own, then you get an extra 2 VPs.
Another way they could have done it was like you score VPs for each mark you've destroyed, and each one of yours still left.
That's a good way. But then again, this is it's a 24-inch gap.
It's
a 24-inch gap between deployments, and it's a 24-inch gap between the far objectives. So once again, this is mobility and do it quickly.
This will promote shooting.
It can do, because there's a huge gap.
It will promote shooting as you advance.
You could just sit and shoot and protect all 3 of yours, and then win the game by breaking. I mean, having a banner.
Once again, your ambushes are going to be vital, because if you got that in your army, then your opponents go to spread out to protect all of them, aren't they? And then you
ambush for the next year is goblins and hobbits.
It encourages you to split up again, and it encourages you to have 2 strong bands. Well, you got your objectives
way.
that far apart. You got to try and block off a large area of the
Well,
battlefield.
just put all your archers in the middle, and you just sit back and win by breaking and having a banner.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the actual objective, it says to destroy an enemy supply marker. A model must be in base contact with the marker during the end phase of the turn, having not cast any magical powers, used a missile weapon, been involved in a fight, or been under the effects of the paralyze, immobilize, or transfix magical power during that turn. So once it's been, and it says once the supply marker has been destroyed, remove it from play.
So it's basically your siege engine.
I'm imagining here like a paralysed guy on the floor just spasming and knocking over supplies. Are you tits?
So yeah, as you say, I think this can be played a couple of ways. We haven't played. This is all our initial thoughts, or third time reading. But
it's essentially you have to go after the supplies, but you also have to be careful to protect the guy who's trying to destroy the supplies. So you essentially what you've got to do is clear the enemy away from these objective markers before you can actually destroy them. So there is a challenge there. If he can keep one in base contact,
I think Leggy in this scenario is very, very good.
You know who I think would be brilliant for it?
Well, yeah, because you can kill the banner with Legolas potentially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. Although they can pass it on. So
yeah, but I mean, all right, they pass it on. You kill the next guy. They pass it on. You're still doing killing. You can wound/kill the enemy leader with Legolas.
I think the best option for this would be a ring bearer. Invisible, go through and just start taking the objectives. You can't do anything
what
about
Sam
it.
has just said.
That's horrible.
He said earlier that goblins could be really good at this scenario. I'm going to run Gollum across the board, and he's going to destroy.
Yeah. Because it does. It's not like capture and control where you have to have one of your model. You have to keep models in base contact with the objective. It's like literally has to be one model. You just have to. Yeah, you essentially have to just keep enemy models off the objective.
Would the ring allow him? So, say they surround the objective. Would you have to
stand on top of it and take a crack in it,
or can you just literally stand there?
There's something about with the ring where you displace models that you land on top of or next to, or something like that.
I think you displace the one who. I think you displace the ring bearers if they're stepping aside.
Oh right, okay. But then, you just run the ring bearer into one guy who can't see what he's fighting, and you throttle him, and then okay, next turn I'm gonna touch the barrel, and you can't. You're gonna have to pass courage things to charge me.
Yeah.
So in other words, you need ring race to counter it.
Yeah,
maybe.
Ring race or Sauron. And with an 18-inch chill soul, Sauron's going to be pretty good for defending them.
Yeah, that's true.
But again, it's yet another one where I can go in 2 turns. I can get a bat swarm from my deployment zone to touch one of your barrels, break it, and then next turn I just hop 12 inches sideways, break the next one, 12 inches, break the next one. So in 4 turns,
you're a very horrible person, CJ.
Well, if you can fly, then this scenario is going to be really easy for you again. And speaking of mobility, number 17, divide and conquer. Have a look at this.
I think the biggest frequently talked about thing of this segment of the pod is just if you have mobility, you're doing well.
Have cavalry will travel.
I mean, it does promote cavalry, which is great because you don't necessarily see a lot of cavalry these days. But
not for stuff like Lake Town or goblins that don't have cav. They're just sort of going, oh, okay.
But then they have mercenaries to get around that.
Yeah, Moria has
Wagner orders and bat swarms and spiders. Do you have spiders still?
I was thinking Goblin Town more than anything else, but
they have the mercenaries to jump out.
Yeah, but that's only one location. Depends which scenario. But Lake Town definitely is just you got no cav, you got no mobility. We're just dum. Dwarves, Khazad-dûm. Can you imagine trying to win these scenarios with 5-inch movement and no mobility?
What Tom's just heard there is everything he loves is pretty much redundant in these scenarios.
I mean, let's face it, he can't march his camels, can he?
No.
Well, not unless he's going to demote his king to a tribe master. No.
So divide and conquer. CJ, do you want to take this one?
Oh yeah, all right. If you like. It's a random when broken, which is interesting, but you have to split your warbands up. So basically, you get opposite corners where you put one of your warbands down, and then your opponent takes the two that are on your left and right, and they put one of theirs down. Then you put yours in the one opposite where yours was, and then so on and so forth, and you alternate. You basically wind up with half the army in each corner. It's kind of like one of the old double scenarios at
They adapted
7-7
Stokes. Yeah.
And basically, you get a 12-inch little camp in each corner where you do your deployment, and then there's an objective bang in the middle, and then there's two that are out to the side of that 12 inches away. Basically, the middle one is worth 3 or 5 VPs, similar to the way other objectives score, and then the ones to the side are 1 or 2, so that's up to 9 of your victory points tied up there. Then there's 1 for breaking, and there's 2 for leader, similar to one we were talking about a little while ago. But once again, I think this is in the maneuverability pool, and it definitely is, because you've got this weird thing where you can either both run for the middle and have a weird kind of mosh pit, or you can send both of your halves to go and mug one of the corners, at which point the guys behind their other half just walks into the middle, waits for their other half to get destroyed so that they're broken, and then the game ends and they've got all the objectives in the middle.
You need to time it right, don't you?
Yeah.
Well, they get 5 for that, but then you've got...
No, you get up to 9 for the objectives.
You get 2 for that. Broken, you get 3. If you seize the objective on the flank closest to you, that'll make it 5. So you'll be pulling even.
Well, no, because if your opponent's got one of the side objectives and the centre, they get 7, so that's automatically a win.
So you need to basically run in, kill the leader, destroy most of his warband, and then pull back into the middle and take the fight to them again.
See a lot of shielding, I think, towards the end. Like with a shield? Could a shield?
Yeah, so shield rules will be popular in this sort of scenario.
Well, CJ loves Irelas after his shielding little tactics yesterday.
So annoying. 4 dice at fight 5 and just 6, 6, 6. Have a strength 4 hit in the face.
He's basically got the open shield, so he can also take a cheeky stab at you as well.
He's Doran, isn't he?
So this one, I'm quite looking for, because the objective could have been you just like, oh look, the enemy leader's over in that corner, everybody get him. But you only get 2 points for killing the enemy leader, and there's 9 in the middle for objective. So you're going to have to do a bit of both. But once again, cavalry, just send them after the objectives, or at least contest them.
I do like how the objectives in these scenarios are very more important. I've worded that really badly, so I haven't had a lot of sleep. But to use English properly, the scenarios are a lot more valuable in these. No, Josh,
there's more
words. The objectives in these scenarios are a lot more important than some of the previous scenarios we've had.
Yeah.
Where they ignore the scenario and just go and kill the enemy army.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
So, yet another one that says have a second strong fighting warband and have lots of mobility, or march. Which is probably going to come back in vogue because
Tom loves it so much.
Yeah. March is harder to get access to in some armies than others, but
everyone's got captains.
What does occur to me is if they've got odd numbers of warbands, you can go for the smaller pile and you have an easy fight, and then they'll still not be broken. So but then you'd have to be quite quick to get there before they just surround all the objectives and break before you can get there.
Another one where it's single drops can be very helpful.
To a degree, but whole ground spread out.
Yeah.
I deploy 1 Ranger of the North in this corner. Now I'm going to see what you do.
Yeah. See, single drops from what I've read from the scenarios I've read and watched, single drops potentially are quite good.
And then we have Sam's scenario.
Right. So assassination, basically, you're choosing one of your heroes who's not your leader, and you want him to try and kill the target you choose on the enemy side. So the game's going to break on end on broken with a 1 or 2. Your VPs are 1 point if the target has suffered 1 or more wounds. 3 if your assassin has caused at least 1 of those wounds. 5 if they've been killed, and 7 if the assassin caused the fatal wound for them. So essentially, you could just get some cheeky bow shots off early if you're not going to play with a poker face, and then if you're quite confident your assassin can get in there, you can just finish them off. The enemy
this is another Legolas one.
Yeah,
nice.
it is Legolas.
Bloody Legolas. It doesn't specify you've got to do it in combat, so you've already heard some people quite questioning, can you do it with the trebuchet? It's like, behave.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Well, actually, no, in fairness, it does say you choose one of your heroes to be the assassin, so you could have the siege veteran.
Yeah.
Well, it's got dark.
I didn't want to say yes or no to it because I didn't know whether it would count as his war gear. But is he technically the one firing it, or like? Because
this.
Carry on.
What this scenario reminds me of, I don't know if you remember an old one called To Kill a King.
Which
was all about that one was all about the main objective was kill the enemy leader. So this is kind of. It's similar in that vein, but you've just you've changed leader to a nominated hero. So basically, what this does, this takes choose a hero to kill out of Fog of War, and then gives you more incentive for a specific model killing that hero, basically.
I think there was something similar to Kill a King we played in Canterbury last year, except it was basically a mix of to the death and contest champions. But once the leader died, the game ended immediately. This one's slightly different to contest champions, and like in that, the leader is actually worth something, and you have to keep him safe.
Only basic, 2 points though.
It's only minuscule, but it could make the difference if you both like taking out each other's targets or something.
Yeah.
So
one VP if you've wounded, 2 if you've killed.
The question here is obviously it says it can't be your opponent's leader unless they only have 1 hero. So, would in theory, if your assassin kills your opponent's hero, who is their leader because it's their only hero, would you then score 9 victory points for that?
Well, it's your leader and it's the target.
And the leader,
So you get 9.
So in other words, this is a scenario where you definitely need more than 1 hero.
But also, if you only have 1 extra hero, their target is also going to be your assassin. So then you've got to play it pretty smart.
Oh yeah, that's the same.
Sharon quite good for this scenario.
Oh, Sharon, Dalamir's going to be very good at this scenario because he's got his smoke bombs, and Dalamir is effectively a Hasharin with.
Because you can hide them because they're cloaks.
I was saying,
you use your leader as the assassin.
So only if he's the hero.
Only if you've only got 1 hero, he has to be the assassin. If you've got multiple heroes, you choose.
Yeah, so unless you've got Delgamar with Suladan, then you can't use Delgamar with as your assassin. Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean Raza's going to work quite well in this scenario as well because obviously he gets the +2 to his fight value.
I was saying to CJ yesterday, assassin characters, this is just really perfectly themey for them. Like Raz can go out and get fight 6 and all sorts of horrible nastiness when he gets in. It's got, as Josh just said, Dalamir, Delgamar, and all that, all the Corsairs, the Sharon, etc.
Yeah, anyone who's kind of got you could boost. You can get a boost in combat with.
Yeah, it's got Legolas as highlighted in the battle report I wrote yesterday. It's got Master Kill Thief. It's going to be pretty perfect as an assassin. Also pretty good, like if he's the enemy targets.
Black Dart.
Yeah, Black Dart. I was going to say this is a horror scenario for Lake Town because all you've got to do is go, oh look, girly Black Dart, 7 right there.
It doesn't say
CJ likes the black darts on the girls, doesn't he?
In 6 scenarios, CJ's had to shelf his Lake Town army for a little while.
Because it literally says it doesn't say how you have to kill them. It's not like you have to kill them in combat. You can kill them any way you want. So
can't the Watcher in the water also tunnel back underground again after? So you like spring up, eat the little girl, then tunnel back into the ground. It's like
drag her to the depths. Yep, gone.
I mean, a dragon would be quite a good assassin. Just breathe fire and reduce them to a crisp.
What if you made your assassin?
We're discussing profiles that aren't seeing a lot of play, so I guess that's good from a scenario writing point of view.
Yeah, definitely. If you can get
touche, Mr. Clare, touche.
What if I make the Lumac War Leader my assassin, and I just go stab,
trample across,
just trample across the entire. Well, you could, yeah, that's one way of doing it, I suppose. But yeah,
well, I've been told apparently it was ruled that the War Leader in Contest Champions gets kills for his mimic causes. So is
that in combat or from trample?
I'm not sure if trample's counted, but combat I'm pretty sure is counted at least.
That makes
combat
sense.
would make sense. Combat would make sense.
Trampling would just be mean because then you just trample a little girl to buggery.
But that also means that
it's technically his mount, so it's kind of if you think about it, if it was the Fell Beast doing it in combat, you'd get wounds for that. But trample's kind of that one could be an FAQ question. Like, does the War Leader get kill points for trampling?
Whilst you target, which got a very soft target, chances are they're going to be a very support hero. So they're going to be like CJ players, and the little girl's going to be right at the back and the safest point of the army. Or do you want to target like, I don't know, Hilda Bianca, who's going to be like just behind the front line and a lot more accessible? And also,
that's what they struggle with in Fog of War already, because basically Bard is the only hero who's basically worth a damn, apart from Gandalf maybe.
But usually Bard would be the leader, so you can't target him.
Yeah, but if you go,
once you've got Gandalf, then you can do like nasty magic to people.
If you got Bane or Hilda or maybe Bilbo to a lesser extent, then you just go, well, that one's going to be on the front line, so I'm just going to pick Hilda to kick in the face as my target, and you'll have the same issue in this scenario.
Now that you said Bilbo, all I've got in my head is the idea of a Hobbit assassin.
Hobbit
just a little Hobbit, just a little Hobbit running around, all dressed up in black with a little dagger, and just running around. Yeah, stabby.
Assassin's Creed Bilbo.
Yeah.
Gollum, quite good for this one too.
Yeah.
Shelob.
Oh, Shelob.
I don't know. She's not that reliable as a killing thing.
She's good for taking out. If you pick a very, very minor hero like a captain or something like that as your. Again, Shelob works to a certain extent, but it depends what you point her towards.
Who's your assassin? That's my troll chieftain.
If you point her at someone like Aragorn, she's basically going to be chopped up into fish bait. But if you point her at someone like a generic captain, then she's got a better chance.
Yeah, I've just had a mental image of choosing an Ent as your assassin, picking up your target and beating everyone else to death. Does that count as me killing him?
Yeah, because this is the thing with the bludgeon special rule is even if the model you're bludgeoning with dies, you can still use it.
But here's the thing, there's only 2 extra VPs on offer for killing your target with your assassin. If you just kill all your opponent's heroes, you're still getting the 5 points for that, you're getting the leader kill, you're getting the breaking presumably. So you don't have to play it that way.
It's more just if the opportunity arises, you may as well take it.
Otherwise, just bludgeon your opponent to death.
Because you can still, if you your target hero does get killed, then your opponent can still get you a draw if he kills your leader and he breaks you without being broken. So
you're not even taking into account his own leader in that his own target in that one, so he could equally do damage back.
It could be you could end up with assassin versus assassin.
Yeah, assassin's not worth anything in terms of VPs apart from kids and that kill or that wound. So you may as well take a shot with them.
Yeah, exactly.
It's another one that's also not a zero-sum game, as in you score VPs if you do it and your opponent does it. This is, you could both take out your targets with your assassin. So you could easily get scores of 9-8 and things with this one, like with Fog of War, where you get high-scoring draws.
I've just had a nasty idea. What you do is you get a Zog as the Gundabad Legion.
Oh God, where's this going?
You get Bolg as the Hunters. And then you put in Narzug in there, and then everyone's expecting Bolg to be assassin. Then you get Narzug to put a sneaky Morglaro in there.
You're a horrible man.
Yeah.
They go, hey, there you go. It was Narzug who killed him with poison. It's but.
That is a casualty of the Valor Gate stuff, isn't it? Because now you can't have the Hunter Orc captains, you have to have Azog or Bolg to ally in, which probably means we're going to see more Nazgul or Dol Guldur leading Hunter Orcs, which is just ugh.
Yeah. At least it means it's not going to be pure Nazgul.
I'd almost prefer that, like if the Necromancer with the Nazgul that's the list. And I was suggesting, really I suggested that you not only have the Shroud of Shadow say affects Nazgul or Dol Guldur only, but also you should say, you could say rather, that the might that they have cannot be spent on resurrection rolls, which then encourages you to take them with the Necromancer, which drops their resurrection roll to a 2+.
Yeah.
And then suddenly that list is played, I'm not going to say as it was meant to, but like it is in the films, where it's just those 10 together, as opposed to having an unkillable, Witch King. Yeah, because you just drop the Witch King and the Lingering Shadow into a Hunter Orc list, and you've got 2 pretty much unkillable heroes. And it's really irritating.
Yeah. On an unrelated note, I'm going to need to drop out because I am rapidly running out of battery. So,
okay, mate.
So thanks very much for having me on the chat today.
You've enjoyed us.
Yeah, hopefully I've contributed some useful stuff. But to everyone who's listening, I hope you've enjoyed it, and happy wargaming, and we'll see you in a future podcast. So it's cheerio from me.
See you later, James.
See ya.
Right. Have we finished discussing the single scenarios?
Yeah. Move on to doubles if you like.
So it again gives you a little brief outline of the how to run a doubles event and what to do if there's a legendary legion and leader picking and whatnot. We have 6 new scenarios for these doubles, which I'm very excited about. But again, we're not going to discuss them all right now, just because again, we've got some questions to answer as well, and
I forgot about that.
But if you want me and CJ or anyone, doesn't have to be me and CJ specifically, to go through because we're at an hour again already. So if you want us to go through the double scenarios and the running a campaign and the events of a campaign, we could definitely do that. It's not. I know we're reviewing the book technically, but I think the majority of us are going to be playing scenarios 13 to 18. So.
It'd be a good podcast. We could get like you and Kieran versus Sam and James and discuss the doubles, because you guys do events, doubles events together.
Fame's good luck and fortune.
2 people I've podiumed at doubles events with. So yeah, that'd be good. So yeah, if you want us to do that in a separate pod, leave it in the comments below. I haven't plugged the comments enough. What we're going to quickly do now, guys, is again, we asked for questions relating to the FAQ and the match play guide. So we're going to quickly go through them. There's not too many, so hopefully it won't take too long. And again, this is part 2, so you've already had an hour and a half nearly, and this is going to probably be a similar amount of time. So,
So first thing is Kieran. Overall, do you think the scenarios as a whole, all 18, favour horde higher troop armies, or given the prevalence of objective-based scenarios?
So I think this question depends on the rules pack. If it's random scenarios, yes. If the TO has picked out specific ones, then obviously you would build your list to tailor to those scenarios. But again, I mean, he has fast for as a whole all 18. I think they, especially the new ones, I think they require.
You need more.
You need a bit of everything. I think they require a balanced list.
Certain armies like Lake Town are going to suffer without the cavalry option, so they're going to need to ally things in, or make sure they've got the march available.
I mean, I guess if you've got an abundance of captains, that with March, it kind of helps, doesn't it?
Well, if you're playing Rivendell, where you struggle with the points you've got available, people don't really want to have to take a high elf captain, or in Lothlorien list or something similar, or in Thranduil's halls, basically elves in general.
But also sorry, carry on.
That was pretty much the end of the commentary. Sorry.
But I think the captain model, which has March, every captain model has March, I think becomes, a lot of people were discussing, due to the new FAQ change, like captains being less important. But I actually think, having gone through the scenarios as we have, I think models with March potentially become very important. So
the pooling is probably what makes this most interesting, because before you had small elite armies or all hero armies, and you'd be saying, okay, if I get Contest of Champs, and then if I get Lords of Battle, then they favour it. But now they're in the same pool, so you get one of them, but definitely not two. And you can't just sort of go, Guritz is an auto-include for any Mordor list or any sort of hybrid list, because now all the Maelstrom are in one pool. So if you've got a 4-tournament day, then you've only got a 2/3 chance of getting any Maelstrom scenarios at all, and you definitely can't have more than one. So
it's also dependent on whether the TO decides they're going to eliminate the pool once it's been rolled, or if they're going to keep it in there or not.
I think you're supposed to eliminate the pool.
Supposed to, but as an event, you can do as you please when you're running.
Yes.
So you could say, I'm going to leave the pool in there, or I'm going to eliminate it. Yeah,
I think I would probably eliminate it just to keep it.
I'm sure
most
will, but do you want to move on?
Yeah, what was next question?
Jason is asking, how much wood would a woodchuck chuck and woodchuck wood?
So I saw this when I was sat at home and bored. A New York State wildlife expert, Richard Thomas, found that a woodchuck could chuck and does chuck around 35 cubic feet of dirt in the course of digging a burrow. So his reasoning is that if a woodchuck could chuck wood, he would chuck an amount equivalent to the weight of dirt, or 700 pounds.
My answer was, I was going to say 4 and leave it at that.
So I googled it and cheated, and Sam said 4. So there you go.
And then me and CJ had a long discussion about how this then means that one wood is the equivalent of like 175 quid or something.
It got a bit weird in the group chat, didn't it? As it often does in our group chat. But yeah, so
it's usually my fault as well.
We love the dank memes, mate. We love them. Jack has then asked, what's your favourite and least favourite changes in the FAQ? He's subsequently asked, also, if you could change one thing in the rules/army books, what would it be? My favourite change to the FAQ is probably the King's profiles being upgraded.
I'm gonna go Valor, the ally stuff, because frankly, what you could get away with was absolutely ridiculous.
That's obvious, but yeah.
On a side note, the Shades rule was actually a pretty clever way of dealing with that. Although the Valor, I mean, I guess, because then you could say, well, okay, well, I'm going to have the Tainted and the Shade, and then I'm going to bring in the Goblin Town and the what, and Jay's just gone, I see you coming, Valor, nip that in the bud.
Shade only affects,
and then the Shade, still affects the Goblin Town, which is great.
It's cool. Like favourite for me, I'd probably just go with the Valor thing as well, just because I really don't like seeing the most optimised, horrible stuff. I prefer themey-looking armies. I like to get like named heroes in as much as possible, and that to give it more flavour. Least favourite change probably goes hand in hand with the thing I'd change about the army books if I could, and go with CJ on the whole Shadows only affecting Nazgul thing.
That wasn't my least favourite. That was something I'm really looking forward to using.
Either way, that was my least favourite. I played against a Shroud of Shadows Zog mounted, and it was grim.
Yeah. But ironically, my least favourite thing is also the Hero of Valor thing, because now, you end up with some very strange bits where you got the thematic lists which are impacted, and we hope the legions will come out in due course to sort of sort that out. For me personally, where I've been slowly collecting spiders and wargs and things, now it's just like, well, I can't. Shelob's just sort of out of bounds completely now because she's a minor hero, so I can't have her in a spider list. And if I want to have the goblin shamans from Moria to go with the Spider Queen or whatever, then I need to have Durberts or the Balrog as a tag along. I think my favourite meme that came out of all of that was Frodo with Arwen on his forehead that said, "I'm going to ally with Aragorn alone," and Sam as Elrond going, "Of course you are, and I'm coming with you." Some of the combos now don't make sense or can't happen. So it's solved one problem, but also created some more. So
as we say, I'm sure there'll be stuff coming in the future. We've got to sort it all out, but they're just trying to get rid of all the horrific mixes that people keep throwing out there.
And one thing you'd like to change?
Heirlooms of Ages Past. Just for God's sake, sort that out. Make it 5 points for the relic or 4 points for the relic, and then
something where it's not an auto draw minimum.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
or you can have that thing where it says if you've got more models within 3 of it than your opponent, and you apply that regardless of whether or not your opponent has the relic, because then basically you get to the end of a game where they've castled up, you've got down to 25%, and then you've got the relic bearer just stood there with his middle fingers up to the sky, just like, I've got this relic, and I'm completely surrounded and about to die, but I still won, so...
I quite like the petulance of it, really.
Yeah.
Kieran's asking after that, Kieran Street, which of the new scenarios are you most looking forward to playing?
Barrels, I think. Destroy the supplies. I just kind of like that objective based. Oh, I'm going to go, right, you destroy that, and it's quite a narrative. I like it like that.
I quite like Breakthrough.
I think for destroy supplies, I just quite like the idea of sending Krebane and just eating all their fucking food and buggering off. It's got Assassination. I think it's going to be slightly different feel for Fog of War, so I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I think that one.
Actually, Retrieval. I might change my answer. That captured the flag things. That's really interesting.
Yeah,
see a flock of crows fly overhead with a banner in their hand, crap.
Yeah, your takeaway is just bring something that flies, and you'll win most of these new scenarios.
Tom Maynard has asked, does the game now favour a truly balanced army? Are numbers still more important? Do you need at least one big hero yourself to counter whatever the opponent has? I'd say yes.
Yes.
To all of it, to be
Definitely
honest.
more balanced than it was. I'm going to pick up on the big hero thing, because when contest was, random, you can have it at any point in the tournament.
Yeah.
It basically meant that if you had Moria and you had no way of either having a killer hero or dealing with one, really, you were stuffed. It meant that you couldn't have Galadriel leading Lothlorien, Saruman leading Isengard. I mean, not easily, but now this is sort of saying, okay, you've got a 1 in 6 chance of rolling that pool, and then even if you do roll that pool, you've only got a 1 in 3 chance of getting contest, and then it's gone. Which basically means that you can.
And then you've got to assume that your opponent has a better hero anyway.
Yeah, so I mean that should open the door to a lot of heroes that potentially were seen as not viable, which I'm very, 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 very happy about. One thing that I really hope doesn't happen as a result, though, is the re-emergence of the Undying as everybody's go-to general.
Well, I'll just add in for Durbers, but which got whilst he does struggle with lots of heroes, apparently he has a very strong ability against eagles.
Yeah, I've done quite well with Durberts taking down eagles for some weird reason.
Much to Dan's upset.
Yeah. Oh, he's gonna love the fact that you've mentioned that again.
I didn't. He did.
I know.
Yeah, so that's £5 to the Team Spirit at Hotmail on PayPal.
Yeah. Harry Parkhill has asked, is the era of all hero armies over now? More scenarios have multiple objectives.
No, I don't think it's all heroes are gone. I think they're going to still be around.
It depends on the rules pack. If you're playing random scenarios, maybe.
Pools 4 and 6, they'll probably be very happy with, but all the other ones, probably not.
It depends,
again, that all hero list goes from 2 scenario or 3 scenarios in 12 potentially.
Yeah.
It depends whether he means like as like meta, or if he just means like normal, just bring whatever you fancy in that. Because Champions are Boys and like for the most part, an all hero army. I'm still going to play it every now and then.
I don't think so. I think it depends on the rules pack, and you might get lucky and get the scenarios to do all right. You might not win events with all hero lists anymore, but
it depends. Like some people are just naturally talented and can pull it off anyway. But
true. I mean, a better player probably find a way to make it work. So Jack has asked, just a random thought, do you think historical green allies should still be allowed to ally in regardless of hero tiers, but yellow and red allies should need the hero of valor? Jason Smith, yes. I think it's a much better solution, and how I will run it in my events.
The problem was
I put on.
The main problem was, like as we said, with like things like Battle 5 armies, where you get like Thranduil paired with like Iron Hills captain with a big like back line or front line or whatever, like Iron Hills shields, Lake Town militia captain to provide march and like
Alfred 5 might Alfred on a it's just
that was the issue, which got people doing that sort of thing that have caused it to happen in the first place.
It also means that Rivendell have green allies with, all the Fellowship, all of Thorin's company, so you can stick Biffa with 3 heroic moves into a Rivendell list for 45 points, whatever he is, and all this kind of nonsense. No, I just think no.
I think people have, as you say, people have looked at it from a competitive standpoint and gone, "Oh,
you ruined it.
It's bad for this reason." But as you said, I mean, CJ mentioned 2 examples, and I was like, "Oh, I hadn't even thought of that yet." I think once you sit down and look at the things that they've actually stopped, as opposed to just Kurdan and the Shade, it actually is very balanced.
I've been using Biffa for years, which could like using that 3 hero move thing. People just seem to have suddenly woken up to it in the last month, and it's like, yeah, that's been the case for years, mate. Going back to what CJ said earlier, I've been saying it for like ever since this FAQ came out. There's still the chance we've got like 80-point events and like EAHC events. If you sent someone a list and said like, yeah, it's not quite legal, but you can see it's for theme and that. So even though I'm using Hero Fortitude allying in, they'll look at it and they'll say like, well, you clearly not do it for competitive reasons, so yeah, go mental.
I mean, if it's local event, chances are the TO is not going to be like, maybe for league counting events, I'm not so sure, but obviously, going forward, as me and Jack discussed in the previous podcast, we're trying to promote having a good balance more next year. So even at summer league events, I guess if you say the theme is so obvious that there isn't a current fix, like the Haldir scenarios and the Gildor scenario and I guess Bombadil and Goldbrief, if you wanted to do that.
Well, Wanderers are exempt, so they're fine.
Yeah, it was just an example. But if there's a clear theme that you're going for and the points don't really allow you to do it with the heroes that you have to take, I can't see anyone in the EAHC being like, no, you can't do that. It's not allowed.
As long as you don't look at it and you just see some immediate glaring sneaky tactic they've got planned there. It's got but this is that scene where I don't know, Elrond and his Rivendell Knights came along and rescued Bifrost along with the rest of them who aren't here right now.
Yeah, exactly. Where you've took the best one for your list and gone, technically it's themed because it does kind of happen, and you're like, well, does it?
This is that famous scene where Bifrost is asking the local Rivendell Knights where the toilet is.
Yeah.
Imagine you could put Bifrost in behind a Misty Mountains list. He's got 3 Eagle heroic moves every turn. And that would be an easy way to fix the fact that Eagles basically only ever play at X 150 lists because of Gwai here. You're just like, here's 45 points worth of Bifrost. Go nuts.
By the way, the first heroic move you do, you're going to leave him behind.
Yeah. Well, no, because once you sort of reach combat, then you're sort of just flapping around. All you're after is the charge bonus in that instance. But anyway, you can't do that anymore. So
Problem would be there was got Champion of Erebor, Bifer is the one that survived all. The Thorin's Company one, he's 2 wounds, 1 fate and defense 5 with 2 attacks. He dies so very easily if you take your afterball for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Questions?
Well, that's all the questions.
Lovely.
So we'll wrap that one up there. Part 1 is already up. For those of you who have thought, oh, there's podcast up and there's another podcast up in the same day. It's just easier for me to put them up in parts, as recommended by CJ. So, yeah.
Unless we add in the penis stone Millhouse like curse thing, whatever it was. Penis stone, that was it.
You ruined it. Anyway. Happy birthday to Clayton Hodges, who is his birthday at the day of recording.
If he hears this, do the YouTube bit. Actually, in the comments, if you'd like us to discuss the doubles part and the running a campaign part of the match play guide, let us know. Also, as with every episode, if there's something specific you'd like us to talk about, we will have uploaded 3 podcasts in a week, and there is a couple on the back burner. So there might be a little break, maybe not. Obviously, asking you guys for questions twice within a week is not really going to achieve any questions. So unless there's a meaty subject you want us to talk about, I know me and CJ at some point are going to go back and do carry on our scenario focus podcast, because that went down really well, and he offered a lot of good insight. So we're going to do that at some point. We just now have to look at which 3 we want to choose next, and if we also want to play some of the new ones. I guess we may do a preview for the Not GT, but that's still like a month away, so that might not be for a few weeks. But yeah, again, if there's something...
there's 2 spaces still available at Mile 1 on 21st of March as well. We've had 1 drop out, so back to 18 again, but still even numbers and decent numbers.
Yeah, that's good, mate. I actually filled mine the other day to someone nabbed the 2 tickets that I'd lost, so that was good. But yeah, anyway, comment, like, share, subscribe. Tell us what you want us. Tell us some ideas for what you would like us to discuss next in the comments or on our Facebook page, which is also linked on the channel. So if you haven't found the Facebook page yet, feel free to check it out. And thank you, James, who left earlier, and thank you to CJ and Sam we've been talking for like 3 hours. So yeah, thank you for giving up a large chunk of your Sunday. I know Katie is very angry at me for I just recorded a quick pod and it's been 3 hours. So I need to go and help her with some housework, but I'm going to go and do that now. But yeah, thank you guys for listening, and we will see you soon.
Take care.